Hi there, it's Debbie from celestialastrologyhealing.co.uk, and today I'd like to say happy new moon in Gemini this Thursday, the 6th of June at 12:37. That's universal time here in the UK, so adapt for your own time zone. So you may have heard through the grapevine that this is a very benefic new moon because we have a starting point to potentially plan ahead for the next 6 months, beginning with the seeds of intention at this very airy, Geminian, mutable yang energy of the new moon, where we also have just had a Venus cazimi in the same sign because there's a stellium of planets in Gemini just 2 days ago on the 4th of June. So I'll go into what that means. And so my intention is to show some images of the Gemini archetype and Mercury, and also go into what planets are in the stellium of Gemini, and for you to recognize where you have this house cusp of Gemini, which is very strong with 4 planets in Gemini at this time. So welcome to my channel. I'm Debbie. If you're new here, welcome. I hope you enjoy my astrological sharings. I usually do a couple of a month, like new moon and full moon, and sometimes some in between. And if you're a returning friend, astro friend, thank you so much for supporting my channel. To give support and encouragement for me to continue to do these YouTube videos, which do take time, I welcome you to like and subscribe to my channel. Press the subscribe button, it doesn't cost anything, and leave a comment below if any of this resonates with you. Later on, I'll go through all the signs of the zodiac, starting with Aries, just to say where this new moon in Gemini is happening within your chart, and looking at the other dynamics of the planetary placements, such as Pluto trine to Jupiter, and also Saturn square to Venus, etc. So yeah, welcome here. And now let me share some beautiful images, which is what I like to do when I start this, which gives me a sort of sense of tuning into the energies of this new moon. Yeah, just to say, before I describe these images that we're beginning with here, showing the archetype of Gemini, I'm a Western astrologer, consulting astrologer using the tropical zodiac and the whole sign house system. So if you know your time of birth, it's always good to use your rising sign for the interpretations that I'll be giving later on in the video. And yeah, so here we go. Here is a beautiful image to start with, which shows the glyph of the symbol of Gemini here, which looks like 2 columns and being held up with a base and a top here. So this is the glyph of Gemini when you look at the signs of the zodiac around the astrological wheel, and it is the sign of the twins. Traditionally, it would be Castor and Pollux. One was an immortal and one was a mortal twin, and I've just used a feminine image here. So there is a sense of duality. When you look at these columns, there's 2 columns, there's above and below, there's side by side, there's this way, there's that way, and that does represent some of the energies of Gemini, which is a yang, as in an outward giving, rather than a yin, which is more receptive. It's an outward giving energy of the archetype element of air, which is about the mind, communications and interactions. There's a lightness of spirit with Gemini, which some modern astrologers might call the Peter Pan of the zodiac. So there's a youthful quality, there can be a mischievous quality, a light and airy, breezy, fun-loving, mischievous, did I say that already? Magical even energy of Gemini here. So let me find you another image. I like this one. This is much more cosmic, and it just brings up to me the sort of flowing ethereal mind that could be stimulated by ideas. Shared ideas is very much a Gemini thing, because Gemini loves to bounce ideas and have an interaction, a toing and froing. The symbol of the twins, which is represented here, you know, it's like Gemini would probably have to talk to themselves, let's face it, because they have so many things in their mind, or their mind may be going toing and froing, thinking about this, but then thinking about that, spinning this plate, but I can also do this. It's like multitasking is a very Gemini thing, using the hands. The hands are part of the body that are ruled by Gemini, as well as the nervous system. When I go into Mercury, I'll mention that too, but it's very much a dual thing. So if you think about games as well, Gemini is also related to games that involve two players quite often, like a ping pong match, really quick ideas going toing and froing, anything that is a two-way sort of interaction, bouncing off the others, tennis, badminton, ping pong, two-way sports. I can't really think of others at the moment, but yeah, I just love this energy here representing this sort of very airy mind. It's that mind of ideas and communications and talking, sharing, imagination, very much a Gemini thing. And Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, he is Hermes. He's the traveler. He's the psychopomp. He carries spirits from the earthly realm when they pass into the realm of the afterlife. So he relates to many things: ideas, travel, journeys, plans, mercantile topics like selling. He is the magician. He as I was saying, he's a psychopomp. Yeah, he has many parts to him. And just this wee description here, which is from a general astronomy piece of information. Mercury is the smallest planet in the solar system and closest to the Earth. Mercury only can get 28 degrees either side of the sun. So if you know your sun sign and you've never had your birth chart done, you may have your Mercury, the planet of the mind and communications, and how you interact either in your same sun sign, or one sign before your sun sign, or one sign after your sun sign. So that's something about Mercury that you can try to apply to yourself if you've never done your birth chart. So for example, I'm a Sagittarian sun. I could have Mercury in Sagittarius, or it could be the previous sign Scorpio, or it could be the sign subsequent and following Sagittarius, which is Capricorn. So put in the chat below what you think, for example, my Mercury, my planet of communication is. It could be a bit tricky to gauge, actually, because if it was Scorpio, that would be more hidden, and Sagittarius is very sort of outward energy, whereas Scorpio is inward energy. Capricorn is more serious and reserved energy. So like, for example, that would be my way of communicating. So it says here that its orbit around the sun is 87.97 Earth days, the shortest of all the sun's planets, and named after the Roman god Mercurius, or Mercury, god of commerce, messenger of the gods, the mediator between the gods and mortals. And as I was saying earlier, corresponding to the Greek god Hermes. And Mercury is related to the nerves. So the mind and journeys, ideas, travel, thinking, talking, interacting, selling, as well as ruling the nerves. So when anything is taken to extreme, this is when you can have a depletion, and for Gemini, it can be overwhelm of the mind, not being able to switch off the stimulated mind. So it's also important during this new moon, and also for everybody, especially if you've got planets and mutable signs of the zodiac, to ground and take time out to diffuse and allow the mind to calm and come into a place of being centered. Have I got other images? Yeah, here's just another image of Mercury, messenger of the gods, this element of air. And I was mentioning that that's a Gemini chart, but just a couple of days ago, we've had a beautiful cazimi point of Venus cazimi with the sun on the 4th of June. So allow me to point this out in the chart. Get my arrow here to annotate. Here is the sun at 14 degrees Gemini, 29 minutes. And here is Venus at 14 degrees Gemini, 29 minutes. So you can see the stellium building here. The moon will join for this new moon. They'll be exact at 16 degrees, 17 minutes. So this was on the 4th of June. So when a planet is cazimi, it's called in the heart of the sun. So in ancient astrology, the way I was taught, the planet is actually on the throne with the God of the heavens, the sun, the royal one, the regal one, the one with all the power. And remembering that on Earth, we cannot live without the sun. We rely on the sun. So when a planet is on the throne with the sun, the planet and what the planet represents is given extra power and extra strength. So in this case, it's Venus. Venus represents all topics that are related to our pleasures, our senses, what we value, our relationships and our interactions, and our pleasures. It can be related to finances and money. And it can also, because it's the Venusian of the feminine archetype, whereas Mars is of the masculine yang energy. Venus rules mothers, sisters, feminine friends quite often. Not to get into a debate about being masculine or feminine. We can all have those and all do have those traits within us. But Venus is related to the more feminine aspects, the inner aspects, the aspects related to pleasures and appreciation, usually sensuality. But here we are, she is in the domain, the temple of Gemini. So she is a guest here, but she has to behave how Gemini does things. And Mercury is at home in his temple that he rules here in Gemini, very strong, only here for a short period, moving very fast. After having moved from Taurus, where he was slow, he's able to do things really quickly in Gemini. And so therefore Venus might find pleasure in really interesting chats with people, sharing ideas, making plans for travel. It's shown the ninth house here. This is no, actually, this isn't the new moon, but yeah, it's in the ninth house here, but this isn't the new moon chart. But yeah, Venus and Gemini, hosted by Mercury, is going to enjoy this idea of sharing ideas with others, pleasures with others, fun, frivolity, humor, loving a good book, thinking about plans for travel, etc. So that's another part of what's building up just before this new moon. Let me just undo that. And then I think, have I got anything else to say before I go into the short delineations? Again, if you like where I'm coming from with my astrology interpretations here, please press the subscribe button to support me. I have got Buy Me a Coffee now on my page, but that's only for those that are really feeling ultra generous, and it's not expected. Just making a comment below, sharing and subscribing is really appreciated. Yeah, so I think I'll just bring up the chart of the heavens at the time of the new moon. Where is my arrow? Sometimes my computer works well. You know, Gemini is very much about multitasking and things like that. So here is the actual chart of the new moon in Gemini on the 6th of June, and it's showing it at 13:37. That's GMT, is that right? I get a bit confused. Yeah, 13:37, that is British summertime, and it would be 12:37 universal time. So just adapt for your time zone. I'm sure you can work those things out. So I was just going to say before starting into the short delineations that if you have been feeling slightly overwhelmed mentally, this may be partly to do with this massive stellium here up in Gemini. Let me get my recircle this time. So, oh, that's not my circle. Undo that. Oh, the pleasures. Here we go. Here's the circle. Thanks for bearing with me. So in this Gemini house, it's going to be very, very prominent for people in different, you know, knowing where your Gemini house is will be important for you. So if you've never had your birth chart done before, look in the comments below. There is a link to astro.com. There's many others, AstroSeek, Astro Cafe Astrology. There's plenty of free websites where you can put in your name, date, place, and crucially time of birth, and that will give you your rising sign, and then you can look up your rising sign, which is how I'm delineating this, because a rising sign changes every 2 hours, roughly. The sun changes every day, and the moon changes every couple of days. The sun can represent the masculine part of ourselves, our ambition, our soul's purpose, sometimes related to our fathers. The moon can represent the more inner parts of our sensitive nature, our reactions and our emotions, our environment, our mother energies, those sort of things, needs for safety. And the ascendant is really about you because it rules the first house cusp. But this is your astrological triad. You can look at whatever feels right for you and see which resonates with you. So, and also to say that on an astronomical level, which is different to astrology, there have been some really intense solar flares happening lately. So as well as feeling potentially overwhelmed with all the airy Gemini mind energy, these solar flares may be giving you different effects. For me personally, I can't tell whether it's because I've been very, very busy. I've been multitasking. I run this business. I do astrology. I do healing work. I am a grandmother. I've been babysitting. So I have been doing so many multitasking things, trying to always catch up. And this can be an overwhelm because the mind is always busy, but also with the solar flares happening, that can also be quite exhausting. It's supposed to be on a spiritual level, shifting and clearing and making us develop into more conscious human beings for the new earth. If you listen to other astrologers or other YouTube mentors or people that you resonate with. So yeah, I've definitely been feeling a sense of exhaustion, my energy levels. I do a lot, but then I'm absolutely depleted. And sometimes it can affect your sleep cycles, these very intense solar flares and magnetic energy that's bombarding our earth here. So it's important, as I was saying previously, to find some practices where you can ground your energy, diffuse it, walk bare feet on the earth, breathe in the air, clean air, and connect with nature. Switch off your devices for a while, things like that. Get in the sea, swim in the rivers, just cleanse yourself, even with water in the morning shower, just releasing, visualizing that you're shedding and allowing any negative energy to just be cleansed away. So here we are, this new moon in Gemini, up here with this stellium of planets. So we have recently, Jupiter has moved into Gemini here. Gemini is a place where Jupiter will stay for nearly a year. Jupiter moved in on the 26th of May and will be here till the 9th of June. So Jupiter is actually in exile because he rules the opposite sign of Sagittarius. However, Jupiter is the largest planet of the solar system, so represents expansion, growth, positivity, optimism, opportunities as well. So it rules the higher mind, and Gemini and Mercury is more the lower mind, everyday things. Sometimes Geminis can be accused of being a jack of all trades, a master of none, because they have so many ideas that inspire them and they can go off on these different tangents, taking them off the singular path of being focused, because that's the nature of the mutability of this airy yang air sign of the zodiac, symbolized by the twins. So Jupiter is in detriment or exile, but Jupiter generally is a positive influence and can be very expansive and hopeful, especially if you are born in the daytime. Jupiter, using ancient astrology and the sect of day sect and night sect, Jupiter belongs to the day sect, so Jupiter can be more helpful for you if you were born in the daylight hours. So moving on to the next sign that we can, next glyph here of the planets. This is Mercury. Mercury is at 6 degrees Gemini, moved in on the 3rd of June, so not long ago, and will be in Gemini, the temple that he rules, giving us potential, whoever we are, to really sharpen our minds, to be really quick, really absorb things, doing things in a really sparky, quick idea way. You know, you can grasp things, you can use your intellect really well and be quite intelligent if you can focus, because Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So Mercury is able to use his skills really, really well in this lovely, bright, positive air sign of the zodiac. He has just moved from Taurus, where he would have been sort of having to like trudge through mud, because Taurus is a fixed earth sign. And now he's happy, he's in his home, he's in his domicile, his temple, and he's able to express himself. So Mercury will be here from the 3rd of June to the 17th of June, speeding on through. Moving on now to the sun. Well, everybody knows that the sun is in Gemini here, halfway through, because we've got 30 degrees in the sign of Gemini. So he's at 16 degrees here in Gemini. So we've been getting used to this archetype of Gemini, this mind, this ideas, the fun, frivolity, chat, debate. Geminis love a debate. They love to throw out an idea and have a response, and that can fuel conversation. So Gemini likes to move. Gemini can be restless, like ants in the pants a little bit, but yeah, that's why they multitask so much. So we've all got this energy at this time of year before the summer solstice, when the sun moves into Cancer on the 21st of June. That will be the peak of the summer solstice, of the tropical zodiac, one of the strong angles. But until then, we're in the Aries sign between Taurus, the fixed earth, where the seeds are growing in the season after the new beginning at the astrological year of Aries, at spring equinox. The seeds are planted in the soil, they're starting to germinate, the seeds are, the leaves are growing upwards, and now they're fruiting up, they're reaching up into this air element here with the sun in Gemini. So we all have that feeling here of this time of the year, this Gemini season. And as I was mentioning, Venus here, she is also in Gemini. She's related to our interactions and reactions, relationships rather, our pleasures, our values. So there is a sense of, in Gemini, it's sharing ideas with others, having fun, joking, journeying, debating. It's very light-hearted, this Gemini energy. And, she is just coming out of this cazimi with the sun. So she has extra power, and soon the sun will be moving here, and she will become a evening star, and apparently we won't see her in the heavens till the end of July. So Venus, when she's a morning star ahead of the sun, where she is here, is she? No, she's behind already. Sorry, I'm going back to front. She would be here, I believe. When you go around here, she would be above. Is that right? I'm all back to front. If she was down here, yeah, she is an evening star. Yeah. So apparently when Venus is a morning star, the energy of Venus can be much more warrior-like, much more of a sparky, bold, fiery energy of being related to wars and things like that. So when Venus is an evening star, there's more of a chilled out energy of more union and peace. So for the world at large, I've heard other astrologers talk about the fact that there could be peace talks in the world, which would be wonderful. And as I'm saying, here's the moon here. So there's this stellium of Sun, Venus, and the moon all together. Venus is the lesser benefic planet, as in beneficial, and Jupiter is the greater benefic planet. So this new moon potential is infused with lovely, harmonious energy from these benefic planets. If these planets here were Mars and Saturn, there'd be a very different feel, but these are both the benefic planets, and Venus belongs to the nighttime sect. So if you're born at night, maybe this cazimi is going to bring you extra strength to use these skills, recognize what you really value in your life, and move that forward and live that and manifest that. But at the time of the new moon, this happens during the dark part of the cycle. There's no light reflected from the sun in the heavens, so it can be a time of contemplation, reflection, and intention. We can use this moon to plant new seeds in the dark soil to bring to life later in the lunar cycle, when things come to completion or visibility at the time of the full moon in Gemini, which will be in the winter Saggitarius season on the 15th of December. So 6 months later, these plans, these ideas, these themes that are important to you just if you are using the moon for intention, this is something that may come to fruition later on at the full moon on the 15th of December, 2024, as I was saying. So hi there, I'm starting the interpretations, very short ones, I hope. I'm being very spontaneous. If you're interested in a reading with me, I like to go really deep into your chart, so contact me below. I spend several hours working on your chart before providing a live Zoom recording, and then I send my notes afterwards, and it's a great pleasure for me. I'm relatively newly qualified. I've been doing YouTube videos for a couple of years maybe, and I've recently qualified in horary astrology, so I can also try to answer a birth chart, a specific question for you alongside your birth chart interpretations related to your life. So contact me below. It'll be my pleasure to do your chart, and also I'm very well priced. Some astrologers are hundreds and hundreds of pounds, obviously, if they've been doing it for longer. I'm only currently £85 for a full reading, which can take an hour and a half with notes. So contact me below. It's a bargain. Aries, we've got the new moon in your 3rd house of Gemini being trined from your 11th house of Aquarius. So this at the same time, this new moon in Gemini is completely flipping the houses where the full moon in Sagittarius was. So at the full moon in Sagittarius, this would have been up here in the 9th house, which is the house of God, but we've got the new moon in Gemini in your 3rd house. So 3rd house is really about communications, and Gemini is all about ideas and communications, plans. So there could be the new opportunity here to harness some ideas that you'd like to bring forth related to either teaching, or if you're the teacher and you communicate and use these skills, that could be something that you could develop over the next 6 months. Or maybe you start a new course, Aries, ascendants, sun or moons, because this is the house of learning. It may be related to groups of friends, or somebody within your friendship group, perhaps, that is in a position of power, because Pluto can be about power. So somebody powerful within your friendship groups may either support you in developing these new ideas that may be developed educationally, using your mind to get more information and reinforce your skills, or it may be somebody in your group of friendships, allies, benefactors. This is the house of benefactors, to do with your long-term plans. And, you know, Pluto has only recently moved into this 11th house here for you. So it's the house of Jupiter's joy, and it's flowing to a trine aspect to Jupiter. So expansion, flow, digging deep, bringing up a sense of power that you're able to use to bring to fruition over the next 6 months, related to either short journeys or your education. So I hope that's helpful for you, Aries ascendants, and let me know if any of that resonates in the comments below. Before moving on, I'm looking at my notes and I realized that I hadn't mentioned there is a bit more of a challenging aspect that's going to be happening because there's a square from Saturn. As you can see, Saturn, as it is in the 12th house of Pisces at 18 degrees here. So the first square to this new moon, it's already within a 2-degree orb. So, you know, you may be feeling it, but the moon will briefly square Saturn, first of all, in this 3rd house, from your 12th house of hidden introspection, behind the scenes things, setting boundaries, making plans, trying to probably work on yourself in a way that is less harmful. If you have got any bad habits that are maybe of the addictive nature, Saturn can limit and sort of try to add discipline. So initially, the moon will be square Saturn because the moon moves fastest 5 hours later, around 1818. And then the sun will square on the 9th of June, 3 days later after this new moon. And Mercury will apply to square on the 11th of June, exact on the 12th of June, until the 13th of June. So basically, the square nature is the nature of Mars. We've talked about the trine being the nature of Jupiter, flowing between Pluto and Gemini, but the square is more like a blocking obstacle, things to overcome. So at the same time as hopeful, positive energies, Saturn is great for being a realist. So showing you things that you really do need to cut back, focus on structure and make happen. And, you know, through working hard, having a long-term plan, you can manifest these dreams much more realistically, ground them down, which will be very necessary during this Gemini new moon. So sorry about adding on that, but I hope that's helpful for you, Aries. And I'll now move on to Taurus. So hi there, Taurus, ascendant, sun or moon, if you don't know your time of birth. As we can see, this helpful trine to your second house, which is what I said earlier and got it wrong when I was just delineating Aries. The Gemini second house is for you, Taurus ascendants. So the second house is the place of your sense of skills, your own resources, where you feel you can use your finances to create long-term security. So there's potential here for something new that you can develop over the next 6 months, come into fruition around the full moon on the 15th of December. Some new changes, some ideas that you can put into the soil, you know, to manifest with intention. And you're being really seen with changes with this Pluto, with a trine from your angle of your 10th house of praxis in up here, right in the visible heavens in Aquarius. Pluto is trining Jupiter. So there's potential to use some sense of power, letting go of stuff, bringing stuff up, cleansing, releasing, and expanding in a positive way that can help you grow and expand with opportunities that may come your way, either to develop new skills or to expand a sense of security in the future. So that's one of the aspects that I was going to delineate. And the other one, that's the positive one. They're all positive in a way because, you know, we need a mix of positive and negative aspects in our lives. Otherwise, we won't know that we're having a good time. And you don't know when you have to work hard. And a square, this, which is what I'm showing now, the square from Saturn in your 11th house. 11th house is related to your hopes and wishes and dreams and long-term plans. Saturn's the realist. He's the taskmaster, and he's encouraging you to sort of create some boundaries. It might also be to do with friendship groups, benefactors, those that support you, your allies, your community groups. So maybe there's some limitations here, or maybe you're cutting back some friendship groups. But this square is happening first to the moon, because the moon moves very fast, moves through into your second house. So there's some realization of something that's missing or needs to be worked through, needs better planning, to develop these new ideas around your sense of skills, security, finances, etc. for the future. So the moon will be moving through about 5 hours later, around 18:18 in the evening. Then the sun will square three days later on the 9th of June. And then Mercury will be squaring between the 11th of June exact on the 12th of June, and then still within orb on the 13th of June. Jupiter won't be moving. He moves very slow and is going to be in this second house, giving you opportunities to develop and expand over the next year until the 9th of June 2025. That's right. So yeah, the square nature is of the nature of Mars. Any aspects that are in a 90-degree aspect have more challenges, have sort of blockages. There's a resistance of something that you come across that you need to overcome by digging deep and working hard to overcome whatever's difficult for you as far as your long-term plans and creating security for the future. So there's a mix of energies here. And Saturn, as I was saying, really he's a realist, and he is encouraging you to create long-term plans that you can actually manifest on a very practical level, and they may be to do with your long-term security or developing skills that might take time before you can be qualified in them, for example. So I hope that's helpful for you. Taurus ascendant, sun or moon. Hi there, Gemini ascendants, sun or moon, if you don't know your time of birth. As we can see, we've got this very, very powerful stellium of planets in your sign, in your first house, which was known to be the house of the Mercury's joy. And we've got Mercury here, and it's the helm of the ship where you're in the you have the steering wheel, you're at the helm, you can drive it. It's all about you, your identity, your mind, your ideas, your psychology, your vitality. So this is a very powerful new moon for you. We only get one new moon in each sign of the zodiac throughout the year, and this one is yours. So it's very powerful. And we've also got Jupiter, having moved just into Gemini, will be here from the 26th of May until the 9th of June. This has given you opportunities to expand, bring forth something positive, widen your horizons, think differently. Jupiter can also expand your waistline, so, or it could be muscles if you're trying to develop that. So just be aware of that, because one of the qualities of Jupiter is to expand and enlarge and exaggerate. So just be aware of what you take into your body at this time over the next year. But just talking about the new moon energy, we've got this stellium of planets here with the sun and Mercury and this Venusian cazimi point. So it's really an opportunity to create something new for the future around how you show up in the world. And obviously you will be using lots of wit and ideas and maybe plans of journeys that can help expand your horizon and enjoy what you share with others on a one-to-one level. If you're in relationships, perhaps this is going to highlight something new that you can develop and manifest over the next 6 months, come into fruition around the full moon in Gemini on the, sorry, lost my thread. Oh, the 15th of December, that's right. The sun's in Sagittarius opposite the moon in Gemini at 23 degrees 52 on the 15th of December. So as well as this new moon being the point of intention to grow something new and plant new seeds, we've got this trine, which is of the nature of Jupiter, coming from Pluto. Let's double check I know my house. That's the 7th, 8th, 9th. The 9th house of Pluto, Pluto in Aquarius, sending a lovely trine energy, a flow. The 9th house is the house of God. It's the house of the higher mind. It's the house of long distance travel, other cultures. So there's a flow of energy coming from these ideas. It's also related to book publishing, things like that. So this flowing energy can bring something positive to you, expansive, taking you on journeys further afield, Geminis, which should manifest in something really positive, using a sense of power that you can find within independence as well, because Pluto in Aquarius is very much an independent placement, and it's also very much related to AI. I don't want to get into personal details, but AI can be used positively. And my partner is writing a book. He's a Gemini, and he is using some creative AI images where he is asking to develop some sort of chapter images for each of the chapters of his book. And it's quite incredible what can be done. This is just because Gemini is very good with technology as well. Gemini's got the finger on the pulse of the button and can be up with the youth, and the mind is quite young quite often, and so are they. But yeah, so there's a flowing energy coming from this Pluto in the 9th house of Aquarius to you, to how you show up, to how you work your life and walk your path in life. So I hope that's helpful. But also let's just go to the square, which is a little bit more somber. So this is coming from your 10th house of Pisces, the praxis, the house of what you're seen to do publicly. And there is the square energy coming to these planets. They're already within a 2-degree orb, coming to maybe recognizing, but the square, it's a block, it's a challenge, it's the nature of Mars. Saturn is about saying no, cutting back, responsibility, being realistic, So there's something going on here, and he's just about to retrograde back and go over ideas of, you know, maybe it might be related to your career path or your vocations in life, your responsibilities that you take on, about maybe bringing up aging, because Saturn is Kronos, the old man of the zodiac. But this square is bringing a sense of reality check to what will be possible, what you are able to do, and how you can ground that into reality. So the moon will be, or squaring first, because the moon will be moving to square Saturn at 18 degrees. That's 5 hours later, at about 1800 hours, 1818. And then the sun will move square on the 9th of June, 3 days later, but, you know, intensifying this square energy, which we may be feeling now, Geminis. And then Mercury will square Saturn. So your mind, maybe ideas, realities, making something really concrete, grounding down that airy energy, the ether, grounding it down, making it a reality. That's between the 11th of June, exact on the 12th of June, until the 13th of June. So, you know, flow, ideas, positive opportunities, but also reality checks here for you, Gemini. So I hope that's helpful for you. Hi there, Cancer ascendant, sun or moon, if you don't know your time of birth. As you can see, the stellium of planets is happening in your hidden 12th house of Gemini. Now, this is a very private area of your life. This is known in ancient astrology as the house of Saturn's joy, and Saturn in ancient astrology, or even in modern astrology, it was the most distant planet of the solar system that the ancient ones could see without any technology such as the telescope, which was developed 1781, I believe, with Uranus, Sir William Herschel. So Saturn is the most distant planet. It represents a place of isolation, sometimes coldness, sometimes aging, death, endings, limitation, and what's difficult. And it's the furthest place from the first house of the helm of the ship. We go around the wheel anti-clockwise. So it's the furthest place. And sometimes it can feel like a place where we don't have a lot of control, because the first house is when we have that steering wheel, the helm of the ship. So it's Saturn's joy. So there could be something that you're reflecting upon here at this new moon, because it's a time of new beginnings and thinking ahead. It also is very much a compassionate house. It's the house that's related to hidden places. They can be retreat like nature. They could be ashrams. They can be hospices, hospitals, libraries, just places away from the public eye. So it's likely at the time of this new moon, Cancer, you're reflecting either on your own spiritual path, or thinking about how you can move forward over the next 6 months using your mind and ideas and plans, maybe projects that you can sell some ideas of your own skills. And this is related to this lovely flowing trine from the powerful planet Hades, Pluto, here in the 8th house. So the trine is the nature of Jupiter. There's flowing energies. They're harmonious, they're supportive. And Pluto is about independence, but it's in the 8th house of other people's money. So it's related to the esteem of others, how others see you. So is this related to you recognizing your own power and how others appreciate you? It's about what you bring to the table in karmic debt, in shared relationships. It can be money coming in from other sources other than your daily life and daily work. So this could be a really positive energy for you. Also, Pluto in the 8th house could represent some intense, darker feelings around anxieties and fears, because it is the house of death as well. Endings, inheritance, new beginnings, things like that. So there's power there, there's intensity, there's hidden things, there's flow, there's potential for new beginnings that you may bring to forth around the full moon on the 15th of December, when the sun is in Sagittarius opposite the moon at 23 degrees Gemini. So good luck with that. And I put any comments below, Cancerians, if any of that resonates with you. There is positivity in taking our mind and being quiet behind the scenes. And if we have any mental overwhelm, you know, it's always important to do something that's practice a healthy holistic practice that takes you away from fears and anxieties where the mind can't stop, you know, earthing out, being grounded, connecting to nature, cleansing with water, deep breath work. That's very airy and very much related to Gemini, being the air, breathing in, nice slow breath, holding it, breathing out and releasing. So that may be helpful for you there, Cancerians. So thanks for listening. Leave a comment below if any of that resonates. Hey there, Leo ascendant, sun and moon, if you don't know your time of birth. As we can see, we've got this stellium of planets up here in Gemini. We've got the moon, Venus, the sun, Jupiter, Mercury and Jupiter. We're having a Gemini party, and it's actually the house which was known as Jupiter's joy in ancient times. Jupiter being the largest planet of the solar system, about expansion, hopes, dreams, wishes, you know, just expanding the mind and ideas. And that's certainly what Gemini is about. And this is also the house which was known to be the house of benefactors, your allies. So it could be people that support you, friendship groups that within your community that you would treat as your tribe, your family, that help you. So there can be something new here, new ideas, something that you are planting in these dark soils of this new moon in Gemini. Plans, ideas, trips, themes around your mind, something that you can develop over the next 6 months, coming to fruition around the 15th of December 2024, 6 months later, when the sun is opposite Gemini and the moon will be at 23 degrees Gemini at the full moon. So new moon dark soils, full moon illumination, and things coming to their fruition. So this is a helpful aspect coming from the powerful planet Pluto, Hades. He's retrograde, but he's also trining Jupiter at the moment from your 7th house of relationships. There's something powerful going on, either in change and regeneration about how you show up in your close, intimate relationships. And that's flowing to your friendship group. So the trine is flowing and helpful, flowing, supportive, harmonious energies. That's something positive that's going to help you manifest your dreams and long-term plans. But it may involve some power issues, some control issues with Pluto, because he represents Hades, god of the underworld. And in the archetypal story, he represents, you know, basically abducting Persephone, taking her to the underworld to you know, make her his wife. He fell in love with her. He didn't want to let her go. And it created these seasons where Demeter turned the earth barren, where there was no life on earth, until they made a pact where Persephone could return to the earthly realm when spring and summer returned and all signs of life, and then death and decay and endings when Persephone returned to Pluto, Hades' kingdom of the underworld. In the underworld, there are treasures. In the earth, there are treasures like gemstones. In the hidden shadows of ourself, there are strengths, but there's also things that we push down and hide in our shadow. So Pluto brings up cathartic change, and this flow of the trine between Jupiter, which is expansive and hopeful and opportunistic, with Pluto about regeneration and transformation. This is a flowing energy here, which can be helpful in what you hope to manifest over the next 6 months. And at the same time, on a more realistic energy, we've got this square from Saturn in your 8th house of shared resources. And the square is the nature of Mars. So there's a sense of something difficult to work through, to overcome, to climb through, to dig deep. Obstacles, squares, blocks. And Saturn is a taskmaster. He is the reality checker. He is about creating boundaries, responsibility, what's limiting, what needs to be balanced out and made realistic for long-term plans. And this is in your house of shared resources and the views of others. And it's squaring the moon, the sun, and Venus. All of these planets are going into a square. The moon will square Saturn 5 hours later from this 11th house. about 1818. The sun will square exactly on the 9th of June, 3 days later. So ideas and your sense of ambition and dynamism, you know, reality check, Saturn saying, okay, how does that work within your intimate relationships? How does that balance out? You know, what is constructive there? And then also Mercury will square on the 11th of June, exact on the 12th, till the 13th of June there. So I hope that's helpful for you, Leo, Ascendant, Sun and Moon. Leave a comment below, and if you're interested in the reading, you know where I am. Contact me. Hey there, Virgo, Ascendant, Sun or Moons. This is quite a dynamic new moon in Gemini, because as we can see, we've got the stellium of planets up here in your 10th house of praxis, meaning action. What you're seen to do publicly in the public eye can be related to your occupation if you're of the working age. If you're not of the working age, it's what you're seen to do, your public reputation, your status. You know, it could be charitable work, it could be a role as a grandparent or a mother or father, whatever you're seen to do out in the public eye. And this new moon gives you the opportunity to plant some new seeds of new beginnings using harmony and ideas. As a, you know, Virgos is also ruled by Mercury as well as Gemini. And there's all this potential with the Jupiter having just ingressed into Gemini. Let me get my dates. Jupiter moved in on the 26th of May and will be here for a whole year until the 9th of June, because Jupiter spends about 1 year in each sign of the zodiac, with an approximate 12-year cycle to go around the whole sign. So there is this sort of sense of growth, opportunities and expansion with Jupiter having moved in there. And when we look at this trine from Pluto, now retrograde in Aquarius, this is your 6th house. So the 6th house is to do with your daily life, your sense of duties, work and service, and it can be also to do with your health. With this trine here, it's a positive aspect. It's the nature of Jupiter, the largest planet of the solar system, and there's a sense of flow, harmony and support from your daily life, maybe from your health, maybe from your work, maybe there's changes in what you'd like to do on a daily basis, because it is the house of routine, mundane chores, can be about work, can be about co-workers, but there's a flow here going to your house of Gemini here, and the 10th house, as I was saying, with public visibility. So whatever seeds of intentions that you're planting now, using your ideas and your mind, it might be to do with travel, they are flowing and can come to fruition around the 15th of December 2024, when there is a full moon in Gemini, with the sun opposite the moon at 23 degrees Gemini, 52 minutes. So Virgos, at the same time, there's a slightly more somber aspect coming from Saturn squaring the stellium of planets up here in your 10th house from your 7th house. And both of these houses are known as kentrons, or angles of the chart, angular houses. So they speak very strongly. Saturn in your 7th house of relationships, that might either mean some sense of commitment, around the topics of longevity. Also, it may be recognizing what's missing or what structures need to be put into place within your personal relationships that also are in a square to how you show up in the world, and these ideas of what you'd like to manifest and bring to fruition around the full moon on the 15th of December 2024, when the sun in Saggitarius is opposite the moon at 23 degrees Gemini. So a square is the nature of Mars, whereas the trine is the nature of Jupiter, a benefic energy, a flowing energy. The square, as you can imagine, 90 degrees, blockages, something that needs to be worked out, overcome, dig deep to work through whatever blockages or challenges or difficulties are happening here. with Saturn in your house of relationships, to do with how you'd like to manifest something new, perhaps in your career or your public sphere of life. So I hope that's helpful for you, Virgos. Leave a comment below and let me know if any of that resonates with you. Hey there, Libra ascendants, sun or moon. I wonder actually what you think about this background of these northern lights, because recently with the solar flares, not just Librans, I just recognized that I've got them floating around, and I chose them because we've been having solar flares and we've been having these northern lights, the aurora borealis, very far south in areas recently. So I thought, yeah, this is quite airy, but you're an air sign, Libra, ruled by Venus, and she's cazimi with the sun, this wonderful positive energy where she's given extra strength, and it's related to ideas and plans and the mind, and it's actually in the 9th house of God. At the same time, Librans, we have this more somber feeling, restrictive or sense of responsibility energy coming from Saturn at 18 degrees Pisces, 58 in your 6th house, which is squaring this new moon potential, new beginnings, new ideas in your 9th house of the higher mind. It can be related to your belief systems, where you find truth and understanding in the world. It's also to do with further education. It's also to do with courts and laws, and also foreign shores, that rhymes, with a square from Saturn, the nature of Mars. So in the past, I've been talking about this trine from Pluto to Jupiter, which is the nature of Jupiter. Which is a flowing, harmonious aspect. But with the square, as it speaks for itself, a square is a block, it's a 90-degree angle, and it can bring a sense of something that needs to be overcome in the sense of difficulties, blocks, or digging deep in a way to overcome something with this nature of Mars. Mars can bring conflict or a sense of some sort of discord of some nature. That's more of the nature of Mars, which is a square aspect. So what's happening is initially the moon will briefly square Saturn, because the moon moves very fast up here in your 9th house of Gemini, which is perfect actually for new beginnings, for beginning new projects related to further study, improving your skills in the world, or sort of changing your philosophy. And these things, these topics that you may invest in, if you're using intention at this new moon, can come to fruition around the 15th of December 24, at the full moon in Gemini, 23 degrees Gemini, when the sun's in Sagittarius and the opposition of the full moon comes to this fruition from this new moon Gemini coming to full light, maybe bringing to an ending something. And because Saturn is in your 6th house of daily duties, it can be related to work energies, your sense of what you do for others in a sense of self-sacrifice, and self-sacrifice, duties, routines, and structures and limitations. So there's a square here, which can mean that you need to dig deep and overcome something for you, Libra and ascendants. And just before I finish here, you Librans, lovely Librans, talking about this flow of the Jupiter to, before I lose my thread. Yeah, Jupiter is in your 5th house. So this is about your love relationships. It could be about children, developing, moving forward, creativity, entrepreneurial things, if it's not about children and pregnancy and love and romance. So that is a beautiful flow to Jupiter, expanding your sort of sense of self and your place in the world as well. I just wanted to add that on. So I hope that's helpful. Hi there, Scorpio ascendants. If you know your time of birth, and if not, your sun or moon Scorpios, welcome. Today, look at this new moon here. We've got this new moon up in Gemini in your 8th house, And the 8th house of Gemini has a massive stellium happening in it, alongside the moon and the sun and Venus cazimi in the heart of the sun, bringing blessings of highlighting your mind and your ideas and what you can share with others and how others think of you. There's potential here for new beginnings in this area of your life related to karmic debt, what you bring to the table, what others bring to the table. And it can be money that comes in from other sources other than your own daily sort of workaday job and things like that. This is the house, which can be related to anxieties and fears, but also it's the house of more mysticism and other belief systems. Jupiter's just moved in here for the next year from the 26th of May to the 9th of June. Mercury's just moved in here. Mercury rules this temple, so it's going to give you a really sharp mind and great capacity to be very quick-witted, adapt, learn things, use your intelligence really in a sharp way. Mercury's been here since the 3rd of June until the 17th of June, so moving really swiftly through this area of your life. And in the temple that he rules, so he is hosting the sun and the moon and Venus. Venus cazimi here is also bringing in your enjoyment and your value systems and within intimate relationships or relationships with others. If you're not in a relationship, it can just be about your values and what you appreciate and the importance of sharing your ideas. So there is this trine aspect from Pluto in Aquarius in an angular house here. This is the 4th house below the heavens at midnight, the resting place, the house of home, family, your roots and ancestry. It's where we come to rest. And Pluto is creating a trine here, the nature of Gemini, flowing to your 8th house, the Aries sign of Gemini, from the fixed air sign of Aquarius. So Pluto can bring up transformational, regenerational shifts and changes, cathartic change. And this flow is encouraging something to develop at this new moon. If you use the moon intentionally during the dark cycle here, you can plant your seeds of what you'd like to bring to fruition at the time of the full moon on the 15th of December, when the sun will be in Sagittarius opposite the moon at 23 degrees Gemini. So bring into fruition your ideas and your plans. And this may actually involve working in a partnership with others, remembering that Gemini is the duality, the sign of the twins. And this 8th house is about the esteem of others. So it's either about something new that you can work with in collaboration, plant new seeds, do things differently. Maybe about changing your mind as well, because the Gemini thing is very mutable, very adaptable, and very flexible. So that's the harmonious aspect that you've got to work with. And moving on to slightly more challenging aspect, we've got the Saturn square to this 8th house. And the first thing that will square Saturn, they're already these stellium of planets, not including Jupiter or Mercury. We've got the stellium of the Sun, Venus, cazimi, the Sun, and the Moon already in a 2-degree orb of 18 degrees at 16 degrees there, applying to conjoin by perfection to the 18 degrees. So the Moon in 5 hours after the new moon will square Saturn. Saturn, restrictions, limitations, what's missing, structures, boundaries, realistic realism, you know, the reality check in your 5th house of pleasures. So, you know, during this time, Scorpios, there may be a contemplation, a reflection around what's missing in your life of pleasures, romance, love, or if you're within a relationship, you know, what's limiting, what's challenging, what's missing, what would you like to shift and change, the boundaries, the structures within. Or it may be about taking on more responsibility around this house, which is related to creativity, children, pregnancy, fun, entrepreneurship, and enjoyment. And the square is going to your 8th house of Gemini. The moon will be squaring first, and then the sun will square 3 days later, exactly perfecting on the 9th of June. So that's about ambitions, dynamism, following your soul's purpose, but focusing, needing to focus the mind, because there can be many ideas with Gemini, the duality, the toing and froing. And also Mercury will apply to square Saturn on the 11th of June, perfecting on the 12th of June, still within orb till the 13th of June. So again, this is around ideas, sharp mind, other people's views of you, new ideas, but creating some long-term structure with reality, what's missing, what needs to change. So that's something that I've got for you there for now, Scorpio, Ascendant, Sun or Moons. Let me know if any of that resonates with you in the comments below. Hey there, Sagittarian Ascendants, if you know your time of birth, Sun or Moon. If you don't, you can listen in for either Sun, Moon or Ascendant. Welcome here to the new moon in Gemini, which is happening in your very dynamic house of personal relationships. So there's an opportunity here to plant seeds, to bring something new to the table over the next 6 months, which can culminate around the 15th of December when the sun is in Sagittarius opposite the moon at 23 degrees of Gemini. The seeds of new intention within your close relationships. This can be personal romantic relationships, or this might also relate to an audience if you work in some sphere of life where you're offering services, and the 7th house can be your audience. It can also be the house of open enemies, things like that, business partnerships, as well as romantic relationships. So there's a potential to use this beautiful energy of the new moon with Venus cazimi. You may infuse and bring more fun and enjoyment, frivolity to your relationships, because Venus enjoys the mind here in Mercury ruled Gemini. Mercury is the host of this house, this temple of Gemini, which is about using the mind, about sharing ideas, about having fun, games, fun, frivolity, and the intellect and the voice and speech. It's less physical. When Venus was in Taurus, she ruled Taurus, but now she's in the domain of Mercury. So ideas and speech, sometimes journeys. This might be the idea of planting a new seed for a journey that you'd like to have with within an intimate relationship. And Jupiter has recently ingressed into your 7th house on the 26th of May and will remain here, highlighting and giving opportunities until the 9th of June, 2025. So there's an idea here that there will be expansion, growth, movement and change, perhaps within your close relationship dynamics. And at the time of this new moon, we've got Pluto, Hades, god of the underworld, in your 3rd house, which was known in ancient times as the house of the goddess. And it's related to communications and short journeys. That can be to do with teaching. And there's something around power, sharing ideas, perhaps, with this lovely harmonious trine, the nature of Jupiter. So the flowing energies of using your communication skills around your daily life, your journeys around how you interact with others. There's potential here to expand and develop something over the next wee while. Pluto is retrograding and will go back into your 2nd house of Capricorn, allowing you to tie up ends around your own skill set and your sense of security and how you can create your own finances. That's between September and November this year. But when he moves back into this 3rd house, I haven't got the dates, I've mentioned it in my previous videos, it's something like the first week or so in November. He will stay here for the next 19 years, bringing power and strength. So there is something harmonious that you can bring to fruition, either related to your relationships, power dynamics, communication, travel, and ideas with this new moon. And then moving on to the square from Saturn, this is a little bit more of a challenging aspect because all squares are the nature of Mars. And this is coming from your dynamic. These are both angular houses, kentrons of the chart, pivot points. So whenever you have a planet in an angular house, it speaks more loudly. It's got more power to be expressed in these dynamic areas. 4th house, home, family, parents, parental relationships, ancestry, property, the home. Saturn is you know, giving you lessons about learning where you put your boundaries up, how much you can take on, what you say no to. And the square, the nature of Mars, square is 90 degrees. Mars can sometimes cause conflict or obstacles, things to overcome within your personal relationships. So there is this dynamic here at the same time as the flowing trine from Pluto to Jupiter, of Saturn squaring this stellium of the moon and the sun and Venus. First of all, the moon will briefly square about 5 hours after the exact time of the new moon, around 1818. And then the sun will be exactly square, because they're all actually within orb at the moment, but will perfect, the sun will perfect on the 9th of June, 3 days later. And Mercury will apply to square on the 11th of June, exact on the 12th, moving fast and in orb until the 13th of June. So there are these dynamics, things that are difficult and challenging, that may feel like a burden that you need to work with and work through. Mercury is very quick-minded in Gemini, so maybe we can introduce some lightness and humor which can lift this somewhat somber energy. But it is about reality checks. It is about using our wisdom and our mastery. It's about thinking long term. So also, Sagittarius, you've recently had the full moon in Sagittarius a couple of weeks ago here, highlighting your first house of your own needs and your own self-expression. So now this is opposite. This is in your house of other relationships. So, you know, it's bringing up something, you know, very different about how you interact on a personal level with others in your life that are special to you. So yeah, see how that goes with you, see what resonates, and let me know in the comments below. Press like and share, subscribe to my channel if you like my sharings. I must admit, I'm having a very bitty day today. I'm working at my other job and I have to keep stopping and starting the most times I've ever had to do it. It doesn't normally happen. It's very Gemini, and you know, there's so many different things going on. It's not ideal, so I don't know how this video is going to sound when it's complete. But anyway, I hope it's helpful, and it's free, you know, listen, take what you can. Thank you. Hi there, Capricorn ascendants. If you know your time of birth, sun or moon otherwise, here we can see we have this new moon in Gemini happening in your 6th house, which in ancient times was known to be the house of Mars's joy. So this is a hard-working house. This is the everyday life, the house where we do things that are very routine, and sometimes we can feel a bit unappreciated because you're serving others or working. It's traditionally the house of servants. So maybe there's some sense of something new that you can change and begin and plant seeds for something to change in the future within this house, using your mind, using your ideas, planning ahead. With all of these planets, the stellium of planets here, and Jupiter has recently moved into this 6th house, which is also related to your personal health. Quite often physical health, but it could be mental health as well. So one thing to be aware of for yourselves, Capricorns, is a lot of stimulation, because Gemini is the mind, it's ideas, it's different things, it's changing, it's being inspired, it's following this, it's chatting with that person. So there can be a lot of plate spinning, as it were, multitasking like I've been doing today, and that can really take you out of your center sometimes. But Jupiter is the largest planet of the solar system, and Jupiter tends to offer opportunities and expansion and growth. So hopefully this is a positive thing for your either work life, can be to do with pets, can be to do with your health as well. So we've got Jupiter blessing this area from the 26th of May, stays for a year until the 9th of June. We also have the Sun, Venus cazimi, just moving out of the cazimi here, highlighting pleasures and what you appreciate within relationships. There could be something maybe more with your feminine friends or sisters or mother relationships, because Venus is the goddess of love. And the moon in Gemini is also here. So the mind is sharp with Mercury, the ruler of Gemini. He rules this temple, and he's hosting all these other planets who are transiting through much quicker than well, Mercury is transiting through very quickly, moved in on the 3rd of June and will only be there till the 17th of June. So this is a great time to use your mind, use your intelligence, use your quick ideas and thoughts and plans and harness them down and to make them a reality for something that you'd like to create for the future. If you're using this new moon for planting seeds of intention, 6 months later, at the time of the full moon in Gemini on the 15th of December, this is when these ideas and plans may come to fruition. So good luck with that. And we also have this lovely harmonious trine from Pluto, from your second house, around topics of your own resources. So these can be to do with your own skill set, the power that you have to create security and use your own finances. And there's a flow here coming from your second house by a trine from Pluto to the sun. Well, actually, no, it's just to Jupiter. So Jupiter, expansion, growth, travel even, different ideas, and using your own unique ideas, because Pluto in Aquarius is very much an independently minded area and idea. It's fixed air, bringing the new ideas. Those lightning bolts symbolizing the glyph of Aquarius. There's some flow coming from finding your own sense of power and using your own ideas and uniqueness and growth for the future. And alongside that harmonious flowing trine, the nature of Jupiter, you know, life also has to give us structure. And this is where we can get the structure from Saturn here in your 3rd house of everyday life, squaring the moon, Venus, cazimi, and the sun. So they're already applying to conjoin at Saturn at 18 degrees 58 minutes. They're within a couple of degrees orb here. They're at 16 degrees. So any square, as you think about the angles of a square, it's 90-degree angles. Blockages, you know, things that stop, cause obstacle, or cause something that you need to overcome. Saturn is the reality checker. He can represent responsibilities, burdens, limitations, something that's hard, something that, you know, can feel a bit, you know, heavy, limiting, something that suggests creating structures in your everyday life around your home environment, or something to do with siblings, distant relatives, or people that you treat as friends, or it could be about journeys or something about learning, because it's the house of communications. Saturn is saying, okay, you want to do that, you've got that idea, how can you make that happen realistically? Work within your limits here, say no to what's too much. So the actual square will happen first with the moon, because the moon is the fastest moving luminary in the solar system. 5 hours after this new moon, around 1818, the moon will briefly be exactly square Saturn. So moon can be about emotions as well, and feelings, and you know, Saturn can be hard and cool sometimes, because Saturn is the most distant planet. You might feel some limitations around your self-expression within personal relationships, within your daily life, or perhaps with co-workers. Remembering that Gemini is, you know, light and fun and frivolous, and likes to be light-hearted and, you know, skim the surface with superficial lightness, like a butterfly energy. So mutable water, where Pisces is, where Saturn is in the home of Pisces, ruled by Jupiter. So actually, Jupiter is in the 6th house here. So there is some sort of, Saturn is being hosted by Jupiter, which is in the 6th house of Gemini, but Jupiter is in exile, far from the home, the house that he rules in Saggitarius, which is the 12th house here. Jupiter rules both Pisces in ancient astrology and Sagittarius. So Jupiter can cast the net wide, but Saturn says, you know, what can you do to actually create reality here? What do you need to do? So there's that square there, and the sun will be exactly square on the 9th of June, 3 days later, and Mercury will be exactly square on the 12th of June, applying the 11th and leaving around the 13th of June. So that, you know, there's going to be some tense energies as well to overcome, work hard, and, you know, work through these things, to manifest things. We can't just have ideas and just send them out and expect things to happen. There has to be a bit of reality. So I hope that's helpful for you, Capricorn. Let me know if any of that resonates with you, and I wish you luck. Hi there, Capricorn, ascendant, if you know your time of birth, and if not, sun, Aquarius sun or Aquarius moon. See which feels right for you. You can listen in for all of these signs and see which resonates. So we've got this beautiful stellium with the benefic planets in Gemini here in your, sorry, I'm trying to get a circle to circle this massive, that's another arrow. Here we go. Thank you for bearing with me. Yeah, here's this massive stellium here in your 5th house, which was known as Venus's joy. And actually, Venus is in Venus's joy. Venus is here. She's in the house of Gemini, ruled by Mercury, who's hosting the sun and Venus and the moon. He's at home here. There's a sense of fun, lightness, benefic energies, positivity, harmony, ideas coming together. Venus is being given extra strength in this area of your life related to pleasures, recreation, love, romance, children, pregnancy, but shared ideas, lightness. And also Mercury, as I was saying, rules Gemini. The sun's in Gemini for this month. The moon is fleeting through Gemini, and Jupiter has recently moved into Gemini here on the 26th of May, and will be here for a whole year until the 9th of June. So this is an area of life that has the potential, if you work with the intention of new moon, to plant new seeds of something that you'd like to manifest over the next 6 months, which can come to fruition around the time of the full moon on the 15th of December, when the sun will be in Sagittarius in wintertime, opposite the moon at 23 degrees of Gemini. So yeah, what ideas have you got? There could be something new around either creativity, entrepreneurial topics that you'd like to bring forth to the world. Could it be a new romantic relationship? Could it be the idea of pregnancy? Could it be some book that you're birthing using your mind? Basically, Jupiter is bringing hope and optimism, expansion and growth in this area of your life for the next year. Jupiter is known to be in exile, however, in Gemini. So that just means that Jupiter naturally rules the opposite sign of Sagittarius and is far from home, but is being hosted by Mercury here. And Jupiter can expand your ideas, widen the net. And Gemini, the duality, has lots of ideas. So just be aware not to burn yourself out, because this Gemini energy can sometimes be quite exhausting because it rules the nerves. Mercury rules the nerves. So find topics, practices, healthy habits that you can diffuse, empty the mind, come back into your center. Use the elements, water, earth, grounding, barefoot walking, trees, breathing the air. That's very much a Gemini thing, the element of air. Deep breaths, centering and releasing, that would be a helpful thing. So that's something positive flowing from your 1st house of transformation, power, regeneration, shedding and letting go. So there's something about how you show up in the world here, with Pluto recently gone into Aquarius, trining Jupiter here, which can have a flowing aspect to Jupiter, expanding things within this 5th house of Venus's joy, pleasures, finding your power as well. So that trine is the nature of Jupiter. So it's a supportive trine. So it should be a positive aspect. And what with the benefic planet Jupiter, the greater benefic, and Venus, the lesser benefic, there's a sense of perhaps more union, more harmony, because Venus will become a nighttime rising star. And apparently, because she's now on the heart of the throne, cazimi, she's going to be under the beams of the sun and combust, and she won't be visible in the heavens till late July, I believe. And that's when she'll rise as an evening star again. And Venus as an evening star, it's interesting to know whether you have this in your chart, dynamic morning star when she is ahead of the sun, when we're going anti-clockwise. If your Venus is ahead of the sun, like where Mercury is, that's morning star Venus, because the planets go round clockwise in a primary motion. but we go anti-clockwise around the zodiac in secondary motion. So here you can see Venus has just passed 16 degrees 20 minutes where the sun is. She is 16 degrees 51 minutes. So she's come off the throne. She's just coming off the throne. She's combust, but she's moving away from the sun. So she's now behind the sun. So she's an evening star. And Venus as an evening star gives hope to the world for more peace and more union. So let's hope that we can send that energy out to the world to heal all the unnecessary discord in the world. And then moving on to a slightly more challenging aspect, because Saturn alone challenges. He's a taskmaster. He is the person that brings reality and creates structures and boundaries. And at the time of this new moon, we have this square from Saturn in your second house, Aquarius, which is about your personal resources and your skills, your finances, your money, how you can create security in the future. And Saturn in Pisces is encouraging to create boundaries, use structured ways for long-term permanence. And it's hard for Saturn, but he's been here for quite a while now. He's more than halfway through, but he is about to station retrograde. I think it's around 19 degrees and go back over right down to 12 degrees, I believe. So there will be times of reflection over your skills and your finances. But what I'm talking about is this square to the fifth house of your pleasures, romance, creativity, and fun. Initially, the moon will square Saturn around 5 hours, because the moon moves very fast in this fifth house. Moon is emotions, reactions, feelings of security, can be about your body. So with Gemini mind, there could be some sort of feelings of things to overcome within your ideas and mind, related to romance perhaps, or close romantic relationships. Then the sun will square Saturn, or the Saturn will square the sun. Well, it's whenever a planet casts its shadow to the right, it's supposed to be overcoming, but because the sun moves fast, I think it's like Saturn's not really moving, so the sun is squaring Saturn. So that is on the 9th of June, 3 days later. And then Mercury will be exactly square Saturn. So ideas, thoughts, your plans, that's on the 12th of June, but we'll be building up on the 11th and still within orb till the 13th of June. So there's some sort of obstacle, things to overcome, blockages, this 90-degree angle, which is the nature of Mars, the warrior planet, the one that fights for what he believes in. There's something to overcome here. With Saturn squaring this stellium of planets here, something about creating structures, working within your own skill set, working around the idea of limitations, what's missing, maybe having to be more frugal with your finances. If you like to spend money as one of your recreational things, maybe it's been a bit more aware of finances and cutting back, limiting, because Saturn is about limitation as well. So I hope that's helpful for you, Aquarians. Let me know if any of that resonates with you in the comments below. If you're interested in a reading, get in touch with me and we can look much more in depth into your chart. Hi there, Pisces, patient Pisces, if you've listened to all of this. Welcome to the new moon in Gemini reading for you. This is just a short delineation. As all my delineations, you can only be as general as you can be without knowing a person's birth chart. But the Gemini area of your life, Pisces, is in one of the angles of the chart, which is the 4th house. It's the house of home and family, the resting place. It can be related to parental relationships or your ancestry. It could be about property and the land. So there's something new around the potential for new ideas. There's a beautiful harmonious energy with the benefic planets, Jupiter, who rules you. In the exile though, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius and you, and would be squaring your 1st house. But Jupiter tends to bring a hopeful, optimistic sense of growth and positivity to this area of home and family. And Jupiter will stay here for the next year, just having moved in on the 26th of May and will remain here till the 9th of June. So Jupiter spends about 1 whole year in each sign of the zodiac, and he will be blessing something around the topics of home. So whether that's expanding your knowledge, expanding, you know, extending your home if you're able to build on, or maybe improving your home in some way, or moving home. There's some new ideas around this as well, because we have the sun conjoined with Venus, cazimi, in the heart of the sun, on the throne with the sun, extra powers of strength to bring out what you value, your pleasures. In Gemini, this mutable air sign, about maybe it's about more relationship harmony within your home environment, your family environment, trying to find things that bring you together in a sense of lightheartedness and shared humor, or ideas, discussing things. That's very much a blend there, where Venus is in the cazimi with the sun on the throne, just moving into this evening star position. She will be hidden in the heavens now after she's gone through the heart of the sun, and she will rise as an evening star visible at the end of July. But Venus is being hosted by Mercury, who's also in his sign, in his temple, blessing you and hosting these planets, the sun, the moon, and Venus and Jupiter. Mercury is only in this area of your life, very short period, from the 3rd of June to the 17th of June, but he's able to bring a sense of using your mind and ideas and plans and intelligence and communication skills in a really precise way, really able to grasp things quickly and do things quickly. The sun is here halfway through Gemini. I've mentioned Venus, and the moon is also just in Gemini, conjoined at new moon. The sun and the moon are always together. So all of this energy is very light-hearted, generally, fun and frivolous. Gemini loves a bit of debate, to play games, is mischievous, can be good around topics of selling things as well. The merchant, the magician, the psychopomp, there's all these different energies. And if you work with the new moon, Pisces, there is the chance to plant some seeds of something new around the topics of home and family. That may come to fruition around 6 months later at the full moon in Gemini, at 23 degrees Gemini, when the sun is in Sagittarius in opposition. So it can take, you know, that long for these topics that you can manifest. I think I might be slightly getting a sore throat here. And let's talk about Saturn, which is squaring from your first house. So you Pisces, you've been having Saturn here, I think since March last year. Excuse me. And there's a square, which isn't a flowing aspect. As you can see, the angles of a square. It's the nature of Mars. It's 90-degree angles. There's blockages, there's obstacles, there's things to overcome, to step over, to dig deep and actually work out challenges that may come from around your sense of, well, Saturn's in your first house, so it's about you and your responsibility. You may be feeling a little bit more burdened and more serious lately, Pisces, and this is coming to square the stellium of the sun, Venus, and the moon in Gemini. They're already in an application to perfect. That means come to the exact degree, but they're within a 3-degree orb. So you may be feeling some tension around your own self-expression, your sense of responsibilities. You know, it might be making you feel a bit more isolated, a bit more burdened. And how does that affect you within your home and family relationship? So there's an opportunity to dig deep and make changes and think about plans for the future and what you can change. What can you put in place to actually create a new way of doing things, a new routine, something that you can work within, that can give you structure and a long-term goal that can be helpful for you to manifest. So initially, the moon will be briefly square Saturn. That's about 5 hours after this new moon. in Gemini. So again, Saturn can limit and cool and restrict. So there could be a sense of, you know, frustration or lacking, you know, a coolness around emotional expression. But, you know, at the same time, Gemini is really light. So maybe on one part of this, there's a surface expression, but maybe there's something also going on within, because Gemini is the duality. 1 minute Gemini can be very, very frivolous and light, and the next minute there can be real seriousness, because this is Castor and Pollux twins. One's immortal and one's mortal. So there's always a duality here. And the sun will exactly be square Saturn on the 9th of June, 3 days later. The sun represents your soul's purpose, your ambition, you know, your direction in life, that sort of constancy. You know, in Gemini, this may change, chop and change, because it's a mutable sign, mutable air. Think about a flag in the wind or a kite that suddenly like blows off, and you lose the string, and it's free and it blows this way and that. You know, it's important, and Saturn can be helpful in giving you some structures, or saying, okay, right, how can you change things? How can you make something concrete within all these ideas? And Mercury will also be square exact on the 12th of June in Gemini, applying around the 11th and separating on the 13th of June. So there's, you know, tensions here to overcome. There's also flowing aspects from Pluto in your 12th house, the hidden house of Saturn's joy up here, to Jupiter. So there's potential growth behind the scenes. You know, you're maybe looking deep within. It's your very hidden house. It's your spiritual inner world here. Pluto goes into the darker shadows, finds the treasures, you know, works through the pain and the suffering, finds your sense of power, and that can be expansive and help you within your home and family environment. So I hope that is helpful for you, Pisces. Leave a comment below. I think that's everything that I've got to share today. I was doing this quite spontaneously, and I apologize if there's not a lot of flow, but this is like the most choppy, changey type of recording I've done, because I'm in my place of other work at Centaur Design, and when I have customers come in, I have to stop the recording. I'm just modeling here some Centaur Design jewelry, Celtic with Celtic knot with turquoise Celtic earrings. Yeah, we do silver, gold, and all sorts. Anyway, yeah, so it's a bit chopping and changing, which is really, really symbolic of the Gemini energy. And it is important to find a sense of peaceful mind with all the stimulating ideas at this time. So again, if you're interested in a reading, get in contact below, cast your chart using the whole sign house system. I've got teaching videos on my website. I've got lots of free videos under videos and blogs right at the bottom page of my website. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed today, and sending new moon blessings out there, sending out love and light and positivity, lightness and joy. Thanks again. Bye for now.